Wow.
Hello and welcome to the ZMS ESports Studio for Stage 21 Triquetra, of course, of Flamme Rouge Racing. Don't worry, I'm not alone. I'm joined by the one and only Nathan. Not the one you're thinking of, or maybe it is the one you're thinking of. We're joined by Nathan Craik from In The Drops. How are you, sir?
I'm wonderful. Thank you very much. And thanks for having me as well. This is super exciting to be on here.
No, it's our pleasure to have you with us, Nathan, because you've ridden all 21 stages as well. So you are actually the man in the... Well, second to Richard, of course, who's decided to take a plane and leave us today. And you've woken up in the early hours of morning. In fact, what time did you race? Because I know you've already done this event that we're covering tonight.
Yeah, that's right. So I raced this at about 9:30 p.m. Melbourne time, which was about 7.5 hours ago. So I've clocked up all 21 stages, finished my race, and fortunately enough, came away with a win as well. So it was a fantastic event.
Absolutely. Well, we're going to ask you about that win as we get closer to the race. In fact, when we get into the race, because maybe you can give us some tips. I know that's something you do over at In The Drop. So just tell us a little bit about, you've got a podcast, right, that you do with a number of other infamous Swifters out there.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so we've got a weekly podcast where we get together and talk about Zwift and things that are around indoor cycling and training. So Rob Zwifty Zwifter Bain is my co-host, and we've had a bunch of other co-hosts on as well. And we get on various guests. We talk to them about what their view of the world is. We recently had on Eric Schlange from Zwift Insider. And this episode, we had David Kowalski from the Zwift Analysis Network. Now, David's also racing in this particular race we're watching too, so that's going to be fantastic to check him out as well.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic. Well, we'll ask you a little bit more about that when we get into it. Shall we go ahead and take a look then at these stages that you have been doing over the last 3 weeks? Let's first of all have a look at this edition 1. So here we are. This is edition 1. This was, of course, started back on the 2nd of March. Starting out, as always, I think Richard does this quite a lot there, Nathan, but he starts out with an individual time trial.
That's right. It seems so long ago too. It was a fantastic stage or edition. And some of those routes, were just incredibly difficult. Like the Classic Fondo was the first is the ITT. And that's always a difficult one. 45 kilometers, 320 meters of climbing around France. The Petite Com is always a difficult one, especially in a ITT. But looking down that list, the Muckle Yin was another one that was just brutal in terms of getting my head around the racing component of the Flamme Rouge.
Yep.
And then further on the list there, the Bologna time trial as well was another difficult one too. So, but all in all, it was a fantastic set of routes that Rich put together.
Yeah, as always. So just give me a bit of insight then. Why did you decide to take on the challenge of doing all 3 editions?
Well, we actually had Rich on the show at the start of this world tour. And it was at that point I made the decision to get in there and have a go at all this. I've been looking for something to sort of sink my teeth into, with ZRL having come to pretty much a finish, and this seemed really interesting. And given the fact that it was also only 3 weeks long, their campaign wasn't terribly onerous, so that was the impetus for me giving it a shot.
All right, fantastic. Well, that's edition 1. Let's take a quick look at edition 2, the next 7 stages here. Right on cue from our production team over at ZMS ESports Studio. So these were the next 7 stages, starting again in France. Of course, we're going to finish in Paris today, so not a million miles away. What was the standout stage in edition 2, should I say, Nathan?
Well, the standout stage has got to be Quatch Quest down the bottom there, the Queen stage. Yep. So that was, Titans Grove, followed by the Epic Com, and then finishing up on Alpe d'Huez. So it was by far the longest ride that I think everyone did. It had 1,700 meters of climbing, and it was pretty brutal given the placement that it was at in the list of the routes. So 14th stage there, we had lots of tired legs on the road. And certainly there were, some pretty epic achievements there from lots of people that were in it. But aside from that, the Royal Pump Room 8 is always a challenging course too. So that had 750 meters of climbing and was equally a pretty, challenging route to get around.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember that from previous tours also. And I also remember, I think the first tour I ever did with the Flamme Rouge, I think that also finished on Quatch Quest. I'm sure I've spoken about that before when Ed Laverick went off the front and did a bike switch. Let's have a look at this current edition then, edition 3. Don't worry, as we get into the racing, we're going to cover as many of the categories as we can. We're also going to try and cover as many of the riders across the 2 genders as much as possible. This is obviously the 3rd and final edition here. Again, can you pick out a key stage here, Nathan?
Well, for me, it was the Coast Crusher. So stage 17, we're back in Watopia. Now, this had by far, I think, the most sprint segments in any of the particular stages. And I was tackling the green jersey competition component of it as well. So having 5 of those sprint segments in one race, and a lot of them, as you know, are quite long. So a minimum of 350 meters, 400 meters was really challenging. So that for me was the standout stage there. But also Innsbruck, the Achterbahn, so 2 times up the climb there. Again, really trying, given the fact that, we're sort of 19 stages into this. And I'm not sure how Rich got away with it, but classifying the leg snapper as a sprint segment is something that probably needs to be checked out later on. But of course, ending up on Paris, the Champs-Élysées was epic. Finishing off in Paris. Really, any tour like this needs to finish off in an iconic location like that, and this didn't disappoint.
Yeah, absolutely. We actually spoke about that leg snapper when we did the broadcast in Yorkshire the other evening, and we had that because Strava do class it as a sprint. You can't actually class it as a climb, I think, according to Strava. So maybe that's where he took his inspiration. But you're right, a grand tour should have a grandstand finish here in Paris,
Correct.
Which is where we're going to get on course very, very soon. But before we do that, let's remind ourselves of the heat categorization which the Flamme Rouge adopt. Of course, all different types of chilies here, starting right at the top there. Slight change this time. I think your knowledge is probably better than mine on this, but I know he's taken in the 5-minute power into consideration when looking at this, the new ranking system.
Yes, that's right. So certainly there's lots of coverage there for different levels of riders. So right from the top, your A plus categories, going down through the different chilies, through to your Bs and Cs. And so if anyone's confused about how many categories there's 2 or 3 bunched into every pen. So if you're in the B or C categories, you'll be racing against Habaneros, Scotch Bonnets, and the like. And then further on down the list, you've got the jalapenos, pepperoncinis, and bell peppers. And so I was actually in the jalapenos myself, so a little bit lower down there, but equally challenged nonetheless.
Yeah, I don't think it matters which category you're in. They're all going to be equally challenging. Yeah, and as you said there, we've also going to try and cover as many of the ladies' categories this evening as well. So we've got 7 categories there, and we've picked out the current leaders and who's ever on course. So let's take a look at this course in a bit more detail, and we can have a little bit of chat about that. Because, of course, just one segment to be looking at today. Of course, we're on the Champs-Elysees. 42 kilometers, so plenty of laps to be ticking off here. But even so, this isn't a flat course. This is a really challenging course, Nathan.
Yeah, the climb up to the Arc is quite draggy and deceptively long, and that sprint segment's sort of hidden along that climb up there towards the end of it. Yeah. It was one thing that we tried to make sure that we knew exactly where that beacon was, and given that it's hidden quite well, there'll be a lot of riders that I think might go a little bit too early in the sprint and cook themselves as they get closer to that banner. And the challenge here is going to be that that sprint is going to open up those packs really early on. The first lap or two, when there's fresh legs out there in big groups, you're going to see a lot of fast times as they come through on that first and second lap. And then the pace will hopefully settle down now. But the big thing here is going to be the fact that this is the only stage where all the pens are going to be on the same route. So what we haven't seen before is the ability for lower cap riders to come through and pick up the faster cap riders as they pass. And that's going to be interesting to see how that does change the dynamics of the race.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a fantastic course, and like I say, it's a lot tougher than it looks on paper. But I agree with you, with having so many riders on course, with so many laps to do as well, there could be some opportunities for riders to take advantage of that. And when again, we did see that in Yorkshire. You know, some of those lower category chili heats, utilising the momentum of the other categories who were either in the same pen or they caught later in the course. I think it's a really good observation. Let's take a look at this segment in a little bit more detail, this sprint segment, because it's not long. It's only 150 metres. We've done this plenty of times before in ZRL, Flamme Rouge, plenty of other series. It's a well-used course, but it's that drag that leads up to it. But also, you know, this is all about FTS, Nathan, right? This is all about the fastest through segments to be chasing these points. That's going to be the focus. You and I have already had a look at the leaderboard across most of the categories for this green jersey competition. This is going to be hotly contested, right?
Oh, absolutely. And that's the trick here. There's a lot of riders coming into this last stage that are looking to get those points, those last points they need to bump up or take the lead on the green jersey especially. There's going to be lots of riders that are going to be eyeing that off. And the question is going to be, do you try and tackle this out of the gate on the first lap, or do they try and wait maybe a lap or two, let the pace settle down, and then tackle it after the legs have had time to warm up? So that's going to be an interesting thing. But as I said, you'll be looking to see some of these riders amp that power up around that 4.2 kilometre mark as they begin to come into that segment there. And yeah, you're going to see some really fast times.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're right, that marker on the floor is a little bit blind there, so you've got to know the course well. Hopefully, they've watched the recons, whether it be mine or whether it be Rob's. Hopefully, they've done the research on this course. I think when they're ready, the production team are going to drop us on course with those riders, and we can take a look like right on cue. Thank you, ZMS ESports, for a great production. We are with all 4 categories here, and we can see, Nathan, across all 4 categories, it's Grupo Compacto, as we say.
Yeah, so they've all just kicked out of the pens, and there's some big groups too. So there's going to be some fast times. I know in my category, I finished it in an hour and 8 minutes. Obviously, the higher cats are going to be doing that a tad faster, I would think. But yeah, definitely some fast times here. And as you say, the opportunity for groups to regroup as they go through and pick up other riders is going to make a big difference. There's not going to be a lot of single riders just battling this themselves. They'll be able to regroup, pick up some pace, pick up some speed, and keep pushing through this quite quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. And we are starting to get to the draggy part of the course now with these A's. Just 3.2 kilometres. Of course, that sprint ban is going to come at kilometre 4.3 of this first lap of Askin. And these guys have come round here pretty quickly. So if in here we have the CAPs, you're going to see that next to the names. That's the Capsaicin. The Dragon's Breath is the DRA. And the Carolina Reaper with the CRP. So you're going to see a mixture of these three categories from the Flamme, Rouge, Racing, Chile Rating in this group. It looks like we've got about 30 riders in this group. I can see plenty of Optimum jerseys, Nathan, but we're not getting far now when the riders are going to start to think and where we're going to see, are they going to take advantage? I mean, for me, Nathan, it looks pretty steady at this point for an A category race leading into this. So is it all going to kick off in this next couple of 100 metres?
I think you will find that, and that's the trick with this particular sprint segment is the riders that know, and you can see a little bit of power kicking up there with the fire socks, the riders that know will know to wait and save their powder for the last possible moment, because this will be a difficult one. It does climb up to the banner there. It isn't flat, and you're going to see the power start to kick up around the 4.1 kilometre mark. And just looking at some of the times that have already been posted, you know, we're looking at sub 10-second times here, so that's what we're sort of eyeing off, and we'll probably see that very shortly.
Yeah, they're going to be approaching the marker on the scene. We could just see the next rider just popped off the bat there, as this Optimum rider is also. It's Bergeland just on the front leading the way in the FRR jersey, but I think we are going to see some of these riders cruise through the rest. Mixture of jersey, and I can see Next, Coalition, Flamme Rouge, Optimum. I can see a level jersey in there currently too. And here we go. There's the marker on the floor. Here we go. The fire socks are lit. Momentum up, and it's Bramall pushing through here. The Dragon's Breath rider pushing this on. From your part of the world there as well.
That's some serious pace, isn't it? Really pushing through, and you can see a lot of the riders were hanging back deliberately, waiting for the last minute, because in this series there are no power-ups, so those riders were going to try and use as much of the group draft as possible to help get them over that line as quickly as they could.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, with 30 riders out, bikes are also neutralised in Flamme Rouge. The wheels do play a part, but the frames are neutralised, and we're straight at this action is going to come through thick and fast this evening. We're in with the Bees, 50 riders, 49 riders in this group. This is going to be the Ghost, the Habaneros, and the Scotch Bonnets in this category. So we're probably going to get some of the ladies in this category at the same time, I believe. But again, really cautious at the moment, 3.8. So we're still a few hundred meters away from this. But it's still Gruppo Compacto, Nathan, up here.
Yeah. If you can zoom back a little bit, you'll see that tail start to drag out as many of the riders as they can are holding back, waiting to hit that marker. And for me, that marker was at the 4.2 kilometer mark. There's a couple of crosswalks that I was looking for, and just coming up, and that was my go moment. Yeah, you can see those riders hanging back there, and you're right, a lot of them have got discs on. They're not worried about this drag, and there we go. They're punching through now, using that draft as much as possible. Yep, here they come.
Absolutely. See the way they just punch through it. Absolutely. Yep. And it is a rider from Zwift Club here. One of our ghost riders punched off the road. Good 10-meter gap there over the front. But again, it's all about these fastest through times that we're focused on this evening. You can see the group has just stretched it out. If you look at the top right-hand corner of your screens, you're going to see the riders stretched out as we look around the Arc de Triomphe here. And some gaps just forming in that group.
They could decide to keep the power on as well as they go around the arc and come back down and force a bit of a gap between those and the slower riders who aren't that concerned about the segment. So again, that'll be interesting to watch how many of these smaller groups open up. So we've got C in the... Yep.
Yep, so we got Van Roos just off the front here's win with the C category. So on this one, we're looking at Cayenne, Jalapeno, and Scotch Bonnets. I think we should see in here as well. Rider launching early here. One of the Swedish riders just pushing the pace. The Swedish Swifters just rolling through that marker quite early. Interesting move. And it is Pettersson there. One of our Scotch Bonnet riders launching early. And he has opened up a 2 to 4 second gap on those chasing riders. But it's these riders here.
Here they come.
Punching through. Here they come. That's where the speed is there. Quite an early move there from the Swedish Swifters. Swedish Swifters really known for their sprinting ability there and their knowledge when it comes to these sprints.
Yeah, certainly. There's some really powerful legs at this point of the race, isn't there?
Yeah, absolutely. We're still, I'd say, less than 5 kilometers into this race. This is potentially later in the race, Nathan, where I would be looking to stretch this. After that sprint section, after that long drag, push it round here. And again, just be checking back, hitting that number 6, just to check if we got any gaps, how many riders we got with us, just to see if we can cause some separation up that climb. Because let's not forget, it is quite a climb, especially the fact that it's on those cobbles as well. But we're straight in with the Ds, and we're straight into the first sprint on the first lap for these riders. Nathan's already highlighted it's that kilometer 4.2 where he is saying we need to launch this sprint. 2 riders going very early, Nathan.
Very early, very early. And this is interesting for me because I've actually got a couple of riders in here that I'm keeping a close eye on in terms of ladder positions. So it'll be fascinating to see how they perform if we get a chance to see them on screen. And as I said, the big mistake here for a lot of riders will be going too soon and cooking themselves before they get to the banner here and losing some power, losing some momentum. Knowing exactly where that beacon is, I think was the real test of your knowledge of this course. And again, you can see them all separating out. That group is really stretched out now, and the tail's quite long.
The tail's quite long, but a lot of these riders easing right back on the power now. 1.8, 1.5, so really easing back there. So it looks like, and it's Eloise Cote from Optimum, one of the riders that we had our eye on the other day. Was in that competition with Veronica Beavers also when we went around Yorkshire just a few days ago. So we will check in on the overall standing of these riders. But great work from the production team there to find Cote again. This Canadian rider had a great ride out in Yorkshire. Just opened up a few seconds gap over on Veronica Beaver. Be interesting just to check back and see where we are with these riders. So again, we're looking at jalapenos, pepperoncini and bell peppers in this D category pen that we're in. And as we say that, Eloise Cote, as stats are on the screen there, so we can look at the power, 171 beats per minute. Go ahead, Nathan.
It's a really intense section of the course too, and I bet, however, a lot of those riders will be quite keen to slow down the pace a little bit as they come around the arc, try and get some breaths, settle down a little bit, feeling a little bit more comfortable now that they've got probably their best sprint segment out the way. Now they can focus on either pushing the pace, looking at when they might form a break, or regrouping so that they can finish with a good overall time and set themselves up for the best outcome they can on the GC ladders.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're going to be checking in on some of these GC ladders. So, Nathan, you mentioned that you won the race this morning as well. Did you also pick up plenty of vital sprint points at the same time?
Well, that was the goal. So we engineered that sprint segment so we knew exactly where we had to kick off. In actual fact, I was diagnosing your recon video to know exactly where we had to go. So replaying that over and over again just to make that really clear in my mind about how we had to do this. And it worked out really well. So I clocked up an 11.58 second sprint through there, which wasn't too bad. Now it's a full gas sprint. Yeah, it was really well done. But I think the big thing in my race though was that we had an early breakaway. A few riders had pushed out. They weren't worried about the sprint, so obviously they knew that the groups would slow down coming up towards the sprint segment. They pushed straight through and opened up a minute gap, which is interesting because we then noticed the ACAT riders coming around. I think it was on the third lap, and we were able to pick them up. And fortunately enough, We pushed hard enough that we could catch them at the top of the climb and not halfway up. Catch them at the top of the climb. And there's Hardy at the top there, top left-hand corner. Here we go.
Yeah, Mike Hardy, you're right. Yep.
Already in there. Yeah, Mike Hardy, yep. A few of the riders in the mix there.
Yeah, those like
very steady paces. Those faces
in the bottom left-hand corner. Yep.
Yeah. So so we were able to pick up the A cat riders as they came around. Yeah, Mike's probably listening to us. And hook on with them and stay with them for a lap. Now, that's why this particular stage is so interesting, because other riders can take that advantage. They can hook onto the B cats or even the C cats as they come around and use their pace, use their momentum, group up together and maybe catch some time. So we shut down that minute gap and reversed that into a 20-second deficit as we came past. And that was the moment that set me up for the win. So it's going to be interesting to see in the later stages of this race how that pans out.
Yeah, as we've got an Optimum rider launching really early. There's some big names in this group. Marcus Duval, I have seen from Next, powered by Ensure. Asa Fast Bergerland is also in here from Swedish Swifters. I think Adam launched quite early there. You can see he's backed off the pace. He's realised what he's done. Yeah. As we see a couple of riders just roll over the top there. But yeah, still riders, still pushing, still chasing those fastest through times on that second lap of Asking. I'd guess, Nathan, those fastest through times are likely done there. I'm just looking at Chris there on screen from A2R2, who's got the level 100 kit on as well. So clearly a very experienced Swifter.
Oh, wow. Knows what he's doing. Yeah, you're right. Going again. Now, what we found in our race was there were a number of riders, and you'd like to think this is not the case in the higher cats, but there were a number of riders that thought that each sprint segment of each lap counted. So I think there might be some riders who are mistaken here, and they're going to try and smash that sprint segment every time they come around. Not necessary. It really is your fastest single time through that sprint segment that's going to count. So, yeah, you would like to think that they've posted their best times now. And whether there's anyone else that maybe feels in the lower categories, they've got one big effort to try and creep up that ladder board, maybe 1.5 seconds or a second, they might give it a shot. But you'd have to think that at the later stage of the races, those legs after 21 stages are cooked.
Yeah, well, if they weren't, there's something seriously wrong. So, they should be feeling it by now. So, again, we're in with the Bs. A couple of riders just to pull out here. We've got Steve Doucette from FRR, Flamme Rouge Racing Borg. It was leading the general classification in the Ghost Chilies after 20 stages, a total time of 22 hours and 49 minutes. So, wow, what an amazing stretch of time we've had for these riders.
Yeah, no, that's incredible. And we were looking at some of the times last night, and it stretches out from 21 hours for the front groups right down to 38, 40 hours for some of the lowest category riders. And to think that you take on that challenge of riding for 40 hours over 3 weeks, finding that time, finding that commitment to sit in the saddle. It's a big ask, and anyone that's completed all of these stages or even a handful of these stages, it's impressive.
Absolutely. So yeah, that was for the full tour. If we look at edition 3 that we're in now, Steve Doucette is also leading edition 3 with 7 hours and 22 minutes. And it's Stuart Bullock, who we saw from Dirt, who was also 8 hours, 17 minutes. So, but E-gap, because that's the main focus now, only 1 minute, 19 seconds separating those top two riders. And it is Antoine Goujon, should I say, from Valhalla, is sitting third in that category currently. And we're back in with the C's. Riders really stretched out. Look how long this peloton is currently in this C category race. Still a mixture of Chilies in this group.
Yeah, they're all starting to string out now. And we're looking at this is the third time up the climb here. There's a lot of tired legs, and knowing that you've got to keep pushing this pace. And, you can see the time in the top left-hand corner there, 300 watts. They're not just cruising around. They're having to put some effort in here to either stay on the front or catch up through the back here. And even still, we can see a few riders trying to push that sprint segment again, maybe hoping for a better time. And really, in a lot of these cases where the green jersey ladder, there's only a handful of points, 2, 5, 10 points separating different positions. And I know that having ridden in that similar time slot each stage, you get to know the riders you're riding with. And of course, you've got your own personal little competitions, your own personal battles going on. And so anything you can do to edge up one particular rider, I think a lot of these Zwifters will take advantage of.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're looking at the bonnets, and the KNs are in this category that we're on screen at the moment, as they just, again, going to loop around. That was their second time through the sprint, as they're going to loop around the Arc de Triomphe here. Currently, it's quite a big group, this one. 77 riders started the race in this pen. We're going to take a look at some of the... Because, of course, there's multiple categories to look at this. We've already spoke about the sprinters jersey. We've also got the climbers competition across all categories. That's been done and dusted, so we'll take a look at that in a bit more detail as we get deeper into this race also. But there's also a team competition that's playing out throughout this. And again, if we look at the mixed teams, if I could just get my screen settled down a bit, we've got Zwift Club there, who are leading by just 34 points over Coalition. And then it's Drafting Dinos with a 21-point deficit to Coalition as it stands currently. So there's all to play for within this team competition also.
Yeah, that's right. And certainly seeing the clubs move around and move up that list has been pretty impressive to watch. And just looking at the men's, so we've got Dirt in first place, Zwift Club also in second. So Zwift Club is being super strong in this series. And of course, Coalition there in third as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So all to play for, of course, in this race that we're looking at currently. I think we're sat on with Cote. If we look at the women's competition, it is Coalition 18 points ahead of Zwift Club. So Zwift Club really packing out the teams, as you said, in all the categories. And we got ART sitting third, but we're here. We're in this sprint for the second time of asking for the D riders. And it is Beaver, that rider I spoke about, Veronica Beaver there, chasing those points. Orange numbers all the way, punching through that pack for Coalition there. And again, I expect both of these riders are going to be watching each other very closely in this category this evening.
Yeah, I can just feel that pain in the legs just now. I was just eyeing off Alan Turnbull, A. Turnbull there. So Alan, I think, we were fighting neck and neck for second and third on the green jersey ladder. And it was good to see him in the race there. And I wonder what time he's done. So we were down to maybe 10 points the difference. And it was this particular stage that I think is helped me to solidify that place. But some of the ladies there, wow, gosh, they've put out amazing times in the sprints. But they're also the ones that are cleaning up on the polka dot jersey as well. Some really fast times up some of these climbs.
Yeah, absolutely. And it looks like we've got a couple of riders just continuing to press on, because I'll tell you what, 3.5 watts to kill in a D category race is good numbers to be pushing around there. So these two riders just trying to continue to stretch this group out. And even if you look coming up the other side, there's still plenty of those D yellow icons coming up the other side of this course. It's really strung out, Nathan, going down the other side. Veronica Beavers was really pushing the pace there. Be interesting to see where Elysees is sitting in this pack.
Yeah, look at that line. It's really dragged out, hasn't it? And you'd like to think that some of these riders, especially some of the lighter riders, are going to want to try and push that front group, open up a bit of a gap over the rest of the group, so that they're not going to have to burn themselves every time they come back around for that sprint segment. But it looks like they're starting to group back together.
Yeah,
and
just using the effect of that draft and the speed on the descent to get back in there.
Yep.
If anyone's wondering, just in terms of how long these guys are going to be racing, or these guys and girls are going to be racing for, we're going to be looking for around about an hour's of racing for these A category pen. And I think, I'm guessing around about an hour and 15, maybe just sub-hour and 15 for those D category riders. And we are back in with those A riders. And it was Chris, that rider we saw on screen there, pushing not so comfortable 348 watts on this drag up towards this sprint for the third time of asking.
Yeah, so you'll notice now there won't be too many guys trying to really push that sprint segment now. They've locked in their best times, I would suspect. But we can see up ahead we've got 4 other riders from a lower cat. I wonder whether they're going to try and use these the A pen riders to their advantage, hook onto them for that little last part of the climb, and get a bit of a draft effect coming around the arc there. Oh, there we go. Now we've got Adam trying to push through for a crack at the sprint segment again.
Yeah, we saw Adam
also
doing this before. So interesting, these riders still seeing those fire socks lighting up, and Optimum still continuing to chase these FTS points. I hope they've read the road book, Nathan, and done their homework.
Yes,
just bear with us while we try and get ourselves back into the race. Great work, production. We're back in with the bees. Yeah, I hope they've done their homework, Nathan.
Yeah, they're going to know that this is going to be, a real drag racing up that climb. You're going to have to put in some good high average watts to keep it together, and especially if you're looking for a great time, you can't afford to sort of sit back and then just cruise this one into the finish line. You're going to see a lot of riders still pushing that front as they come up to the arc. They're going to want to keep pushing that, force those gaps open, and hopefully look for other riders coming through, other higher cat riders, and see if they can hang on to those guys to get more of a time break over the rest of the group.
Yeah, I think, as you said, it's going to be really interesting here because there's going to be riders literally all over the road from all categories.
Yeah.
And I think, especially when you start to get some A riders, some B riders, those B riders in particular, if they start to catch some of those A riders who are just dropping off the back, as we're seeing here, because you'll see a couple of red dots in the distance. And again, just utilizing those riders as a bit of a launch pad. Just get 3 or 4 riders around you. Keep working, keep rolling through. It is possible we could see some good time gaps open up on this race. I'd say we are just sat with the Bs currently. I just want to give Monique Verhoff a shout as well, because she is currently leading the Ghost Chilies on the ladies' side with 7 hours and 50 minutes. Rides, of course, for Team NL. I have to be honest, I'm not even sure she's in this particular race, but she should be racing this one or maybe the later ones that take place this evening. But she is currently leading that categorization. We'll take a look at the men's leaderboard on the Ghost Chili side very, very shortly. But just again, a few hundred meters. Third time of asking for these bees, Nathan. Are we going to see any more fire socks lit up?
Well, there we go. There's one. You're going to see ones, the riders that are just hanging on now. And they kind of want this to be done as quickly as possible, but I don't think we'll see too many. Oh, we've got we do. I stand corrected. We've got a few pushing through for the front line again, and you can see those 2 heading off there at the front of the pack. And it really does stretch out the group, and especially for the riders towards the back of the group who are already on the rivet. They're in that red zone. Seeing those riders push off the front just makes this so much more difficult. For a simple course, it really is quite technical.
Yeah, it's a really tough course. You and I have raced this on many, many occasions. It's a super hard course, and particularly because for a Zwift race, this is reasonably long. Looking an hour to an hour and 15 minutes, 42 kilometers around this is not easy. So you look how stretched out this B category is currently. This group is going to get smaller and smaller the deeper we get into this race. We're not even halfway through the race at this point, Nathan, and we're already seeing these group of riders spread quite a way around the Arc de Triomphe here.
Yeah, you can see the ones are really fighting to get back into that group as they come around the arc where it flattens out. Because I know that as you hit that, start to hit that descent, if you're dangling off the back, there's a good chance you could get dropped, and that's the last thing you want at this stage of the race.
Yeah, if you've not held around the top and you've got to chase down the other side, you're going to be breathing deep, the legs are going to be screaming, and if it's a big, if you've got 20, 30 riders in front of you, there's a good chance you're not getting back on. When we're in with the C's currently, and again, great work by the production team because we're straight back in with this sprint, so we're just action after action through these sprint segments here. Still quite a good group here, though. This is still quite a few riders in here, not quite stretched out as we saw with the B riders, but there's more riders that we could be drafting off. And again, riders still punching through. Look at those arrows, those fire shots go.
Yeah, that's incredible, isn't it?
Italian rider just launching off the front there.
Really, there's a lot of effort still being put into these sprints. Where they're getting that energy from, I've got no idea. I was happy to do 1 or 2 efforts off the front, and that was it for me. But yeah, you can certainly see that whole group is stretching out. You'll have some riders on the back there fighting and to get back into that group before they hit the arc, before it flattens out. Because I think you'll see a few of those riders keep that pace on at the front there. They're going to keep pushing around that arc and hopefully force a gap into this group because it is so big.
Yeah, absolutely. Just looking at the Scotch bonnets there, it's Jay Ketelas from Wahoo Lecole there, who is leading the sprint competition at the moment. Robert Schubel from Drafting Dinos is sitting second, and Eduardo Akio Segoya is sitting third in that sprint competition at the moment. And we're straight in with the Ds. A little bit further to go until they reach that sprint segment, but you can see the Arc de Triomphe there in the distance. And again, on that last lap, let's not forget, we've got that little ramp out of the Plaza della Concorde that we've got to think about too. But it's a long way to go yet. A good 40 to 45 minutes of racing yet to be done before we get to that point. Your category, Nathan, remind me, was the jalapenos, right?
That's right, yes, in the D pen. And we didn't have as many riders as I'm seeing here. We've got, 88 riders. Well, 88 riders have started in the pen. It's whittled down a little bit, I would suspect, but it certainly is some good numbers still here. And now we can see a couple of riders just off the front of that who are going to get picked up. There's a couple of, C pen riders. So I think they're probably going to jump in with these guys. And that group's going to grow just a little bit as they come through. They'll use the draft of this group to help try and recover and hopefully shut down the gaps that that have opened up. But for every category, for every rider out there, the challenge is unbelievably fantastic. Certainly, trying to stay with the group is really just at this point of the race, at this point of the tour. That's all that some of these riders are just trying to do. Just stay with the group, stay in control as much as they can, and not blow up.
Well, let's not forget, I mean, it's a really good point, Nathan. It's not just about the pointy end of the race. These riders, whether you've ridden a few stages, whether you've ridden one edition, if you're crazy enough to go and do all 3 editions, it's a momentous achievement to ride any Flamme Rouge, particularly when you get to the World Tours. And we're going to talk a little bit about the events that are coming up in the coming months from Flamme Rouge as well. I'm just looking at the sprint leaderboard after 6 stages, and Jonas Gustafsson was leading that as of yesterday. You, Nathan, was sat second. And Alan Turnbull Zedson was closely behind you, sitting in third. So a really tight competition in this sprint competition in this category.
Yeah, so Alan's in this group here. We should see him floating around there in that front group. And he's been a super strong rider. He's on the all-rounders. So the all-rounder, which includes both sprint points and climbing points. He's sitting first there, but Jonas in our category had a monster sprint. He's got a 13 watt per kilo sprint on him and had cleaned up every sprint segment, I think, throughout the entire tour. So he was the man to beat, and unfortunately, I just don't have those kinds of legs to get over the top of him. But the competition between Alan and I has been fierce. So I'm quite interested to see how he goes in this race and see what kind of times he posts.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure you are checking up on those as it is. And we're back in with the A riders. If we can just see it stretched out a little bit here, pushing the pace. I don't think this is going for the sprint. I think this is stretching the legs in this category, because let's not forget, this is about E-gap as well. So it is important, if you've got competition around you in this group, you want to create some separation. We're coming up to the midpoint of the race now. Well, just over the midpoint of the race. This is obviously close to 43 kilometers. We're 24 kilometers in. Yeah, this is a concerted effort here just to create some gaps. And we are seeing, 5 riders there, just trying to push the pace off the front. But it looks like this is going to be closed down here. Those riders did create about a 5-second gap there, but it's been quickly closed down.
Yeah, there's a few riders in here trying to turn some screws. And I think those back markers there recognise that you can't let a handful of riders on the front get away at this point of the route. You really need to be on that front group to make sure that you get as much recovery as you can coming around that arc, so you can reset again for the next time around. Certainly there's, but you're right. I think you're right, Si. There's a lot of riders in here who do want to force those gaps. They are looking for the best possible times they can get. And at this point, at the pointy end of some of these categories, they're super focused on just doing just that.
I tell you what, Nathan, I need to check where Optimum, every category so far, Optimum have been packing out. You know, that's the yellow and blue numbers that we can see. Let's take a look at some of these faces here and some of these paid caves. Mike there, top left again, bib shorts on, looking lean. I was going to say he's listening to the tunes, but I think he's also got us in the ear, Nathan, unfortunately. So come on, Mike. Keep pushing those watts, keep turning those pedals, pushing that pace.
Cheering them out. I would love to know what some of these strategies are coming into this, especially at the higher end there, where they think they're going to be able to push and make some of these, game-changing moves, because really that's what it's going to come down to. Because the route is so, well, when I say so flat, it's not entirely flat, but they're going to be looking for any point in the race where they can force a change, force a break, maybe work out a team strategy where you've got 2 or 3 riders that can push off the front and leave the other team members to sort of hold back the group if they can. And I think you'll find as we get into the 5th and 6th laps, we'll see a lot more jockeying of positions on the front as they know that they're nearing the end of this.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is that Team Zwift Club again from GHT pushing the pace. Just getting swamped by the B group here. And again, I think that was just a couple of other riders from other categories just being picked up there by this B group. And it is Steve, a Canadian there, from the Ghost Chilies, just on the front, pushing the pace. Just getting picked up by Habaneros, Ghost Chilies. But this group has definitely reduced down here.
Yeah, it's really dialed back, hasn't it? But I think as a Ghost rider, you'd be happy to jump in there and try and get some much-needed rest. But as I said before, it was really about, for me in my race, we recognised that a faster group was coming around, and if you can place yourself at the right point of the map to pick them up or use them as they come around, you can really reverse what can be a bit of a gap into a lead. So jumping onto a group as they come past is going to be tough because the legs are screaming right now, but if you can do it, it can be a real game changer.
Yeah, absolutely. See Manon there in chat. Thank you, Manon. And indeed, we've got to give Linny O'Rourke a shout. She's also in the Jalapenos. Great member of the community there. Always got great chat as well. So massive shout out to Linny O'Rourke. Appreciate that. I tell you what I'm looking for in this B category. Steve Duchette. Have you seen him in this group? But he's a rider we've got to be watching because he's leading the race currently. And I think he was definitely down to start, but I've not seen his name. Maybe he's just hiding, sitting in, playing it cool at the moment. We'll keep an eye out for Steve if we can see him in this group.
I've just done a quick search on Zwift Power, and no, he doesn't appear to be live in this race.
So keeping his cards close to the chest maybe until that final race of the day.
And don't forget, we've still got another 3 time zones to play out after this one. So even if we've got, this is by far the biggest group, I think, of the time zones, there's going to be a lot of riders that are very anxious. There's Rob Van Brust. So he's on the top end of the leaderboards in Cayenne. You're going to have a lot of riders on tenterhooks as they finish this race, watching, refreshing, looking at the stats to see how the other times and the other races go, and see what kind of times that some of their competitors are putting out.
Absolutely. Just looking on the screen, I can see Bollen as well with that Belgian flag. I do believe he has led this edition from start to finish. So Bollen there, sit close to the front from Sisu, I think he is, if I remember rightly, Bollen.
Sisu, that's correct. Yep. He's doing quite well. Just looking at some of his power numbers, averaging 3.3 watts per kilo. After so many kilometers, after so many stages, to still be pushing those sorts of numbers is pretty impressive.
Absolutely. I'm just looking down the list currently, and all these riders so far averaging 3.2, 3.3, 3.4 watts a kilo on this race. And as you said, doing that after the stages and the hours all these riders have been putting in over the last couple of weeks, or this week alone, is absolutely tremendous. And again, some riders just continuing to push the pace, just stretching out this category at the moment. You've got Jens Luckerhoff there at the front, Mike Spenenberg from Coalition, Peter Sells from Herd also in here. Bolin, we've already mentioned Bolin there from Sisu. Who else have we got to look out for? Jamie Bishop from SRT, Lloyd Griffin from ART. I know ART have also had a shout out in chat, so a big shout out to all the ART riders. And we're back in with the D category now. Just coming up to that sprint again. Nathan, I'm not expecting anything to happen on this sprint now.
No, you'd expect that this group just to be sort of staying together. There could be a few riders at the front that just want to make sure that everyone else is being honest. And you'll see them, if they're still feeling okay, they'll be pushing that power a little bit, but we won't see the numbers we saw earlier on in the first lap or the second lap. There's still 33 riders in this group that are all vying for a great time. Of course, hanging on the back there, maybe trying to maximize that draft as much as they can. There's a slight downhill as you come through here. So they'll be want to try to save as many watts as they possibly can, be as efficient as possible before they start that climb. And of course, we know the climb's only, well, when we say only, it's only about 1.5 K up the top there, and they're going to want to use as little amount of power, or I know I did, to try and maximize their efficiency as possible, save those watts as they come around the arc, and recover and reset again for the next lap.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, this is the category where we were keeping an eye on Eloise Cote and Vanessa Beavers, but there's plenty of other firepower when it comes to the ladies in this one. Elvira Wilhelm from Team Italy, Alma also from Team Italy, Saracina from Team Italy, Heather Zygan from Revo. They are all here packing the front. Of course, Eloise Cote in there, Kate Zhu from Zwift Club. Zwift Club also doing really well across the mixed, the ladies and the gents competition when it comes down to the team competition. Stephanie Lavinger from Optimum is also here. We've also spoke about Vanessa Beaver already, riding for Coalition. Elisa from Dinos is also here. So this is where it's at. Debbie Woods Turner there, also from Aeonian. This is a stacked field when it comes to ladies racing.
I'm just looking down the list, and there's a lot. There's probably a third, maybe a bit over a third of this front group have some of the best lady riders in this particular category in this front group. So again, they're all sort of pushing an average of 2.9 watts as a group up this climb. But we'll see, I think this group stretch out again. A few of the ladies are going to push towards the front, and we can sort of see that in some of the names up the front there. They're going to want to push this group, try and force some of the weaker riders, the riders that are fatigued both mentally and physically, out the back if they can. And there we go. We can see a few fire socks lighting up, and some of those back riders are starting to wonder whether they can hang on, and hoping that gap doesn't open up too much as they come through the banner.
Yeah, we can see some gaps opening up there, but you can also see them mixed in with some of the C-Pen riders also. Of course, this was the category where we saw Vanessa Beavers, as she went around the Arc de Triomphe here, just push the pace and cause some separation. We can see the yellow, look at that top right-hand corner. For those who are watching, you'll just see those yellow dots from this D-Pen really strung out. A couple of riders just trying to push off the front there and stretch this out. So again, plenty of action, as we've seen week in, day out with this Flamme Rouge racing. It's this pen where we've seen the action unfold. And it is that
those
rider
numbers
again,
there.
Nathan, it's Beavers on the front.
Yeah, Vanessa is doing such a great job. Really just taking this, pushing as hard as she can around that arc, knowing that the other riders, all their legs are burning. She's going to want to use that to advantage, come around the arc and then hit that downhill. And who is with her there? There's Katie, another Scotch bonnet rider. Oh yeah, from Zwift Club. Hopefully they'll hook in together. Maybe they'll take the front together. and really turn the screws to the riders that are in towards the back of the group. And Zwift Club's coming through now. Quite a few of the riders there, and Aero as well.
Yeah, closing that down, absolutely. And thank you for the comment on Facebook about the full tourists. Let's go through that. We've got 13 full tourists in the Capsaicins, the Dragons 22, CRP 23, Ghost Chili's 38, Habaneros 44 full tourists. I'm talking about the men right now. Habaneros 44, Scotch Bonnet 63, Cayennes 47, Jalapenos 36. My co-host is one of those. The Pepperoncinis 12 and the Bell Peppers 2. In terms of the ladies, again, we got full tourists across all 7 ratings here. So we got 1 Ghost, 5 Habaneros, 4 Scotch Bonnets, 13 Cayennes, 12 Jalapenos, Pepperoncinis 11 and Bell Peppers 3. So plenty of full tourists out there. Fantastic. I'm just going to check how many full tourists we had, Nathan. Can you remember? I think it was 300 men and 49 women. Is that right?
I think that's correct. Yes, I'm just looking at those figures now.
I put you under pressure there.
Yeah, that's right. So 300 out of 1,589 and 49 women out of 278. So this whole tour has been a war of attrition for lots of riders just to be able to click off all the stages. It really is impressive to see how many people have joined in this. It's been a fantastic series, and for one of the most difficult series on Zwift at the moment, it's great to see such awesome numbers.
No, absolutely. I know we're just cruising with the A's at the moment, but I've got to come back to that ladies' race there in the Scotch Bonnets, because I've just realised what the time gap is between Vanessa Beaver and Eloise Cote for the general classification according to EGAP. 0 minutes, 0 seconds. And it's that rider, Katrina Junkers, that we saw in there from Zwift Club, just 1 minute 24 back. This is why Vanessa Beavers is trying to push the pace on this final stage. This has got to be the one to ask. There's 0 seconds between those two riders at this point. So this is where the race is going to be at.
That's incredible. I'm looking at that now, actually. I want to
imagine
sort of, check out those stats.
8 hours of riding, and there's nothing separating these two riders. Even if I look at the general classification, not using EGAP with the least time, I think that's also a minute. So whether these two ladies have, sort of tracked each other stage to stage would be really interesting. Let me just run through the rest of that category, though. We've got Katrina Junkers, as I've said, in 3rd. Debbie Woods-Turner, that rider from Aeonian that I spoke about, in 4th. Christina Miller from Coalition sitting 5th. Janine Kirstein, I think it is, from Kirschmeyer Racing, sitting in 6th. And then Daphne there from Dirt, it's sitting in 7th. But it's Eloise Cote, should I say, and Vanessa Beaver, where I say this is where the race is going to be at between these two riders.
Yeah, that's so impressive. I mean, when you put it that way, Si, it's after all this time, after all this racing, and it's coming down to seconds, and in the last stage too. So they're going to be fighting tooth and nail for any advantage they can get, and whether that's sort of sitting in the group, trying to be as efficient as you possibly can with your watts, or pushing the front and forcing gaps. It's going to be great to watch how this plays out over the last couple of laps.
Yeah, absolutely. So a couple more laps to go there. We're going to take a look at the A riders in just a second as well, and who's leading that. So again, there's plenty of riders that we saw, plenty of big hitters in here. So here we are with the A's. And again, it still looks like a reasonably sized group here. Let's just have a look at what the GC is looking like here. It's that rider who always turns up when it comes to Flamme Rouge Racing, Rinus Verhaale from Abus Synergy, who is currently sitting top of the table, but by 39 seconds over Pedersen. We watched Pedersen race in Yorkshire the other night. I've not seen him down here at the moment. So again, he may just be waiting until later in the evening. And we have seen that before, Nathan. When we get to this final day of these big tours with Flamme Rouge Racing, the riders waiting until the very last minute so they know what they've got to do to win this competition. And it's Kieran Molly just to round out that top 3 from Valhalla, just 1 minute and 5 seconds back also. You can see these riders just overtaking some of this deep end ride as well. And this, again, it's another time where you have to be really careful. You don't want to be wasting too much energy just because you didn't punch through that group at the right time.
Yep. So I wonder now how many of those DCAT riders may have tried to hook onto these guys as they came through. And you can see there's a couple maybe trying to make a break and bridge across to them to get to try and jump on their tail, get as much of that draft as possible as they can, and force their own gaps in their own categories. But certainly they're not letting up, are they? They're pushing that front group.
Yeah, they're still pushing on. If they tried to hold on, I don't think they'll be able to stay there too long because we are coming to that draggy section of the course here. But again, Marcus Duval here from next, just pushing off the front. So Marcus Duval is currently sat fourth at the moment in GC. This time around, he's riding for one of the Flamme Rouge teams, the Legion team this time. Normally rides, of course, for next, as I said, open up quite a bit. 5-second gap here.
5
6
seconds,
watts a kilo up this climb, and we are going to be getting into the final stage of this race with 36 kilometers in of a 43-kilometer race here. So this is the move. This is Marcus's attempt to try and create some separation, Nathan, over the rest of his competition.
Now, I wonder how much of this is a calculated attempt or whether he's recognised that the group's slowing down and he can punch through up this climb, open that gap up, and this could be the winning move. If he can make this stick coming up around the arc and keep that distance from the rest of the group, and it's stretched out to 9 seconds now. He's still pushing 6 watts per kilo. I saw 6.4 just before. He's really going to want to keep that gap and hopefully take this for the win.
Yeah, and these riders are not really pushing the pace too much here to close. They're happy for Duval just to push off the front at the moment. And again, just looking at Duval, he is only 6 seconds off getting a top 3 place in the Flamme Rouge Racing Triquetra Tour here. So again, this is a concerted effort to try and get into that top 3. Not too far off second with Pedersen either. But again, some of those riders may be racing later on. But you can see, look how the faces have changed. Look how these riders are now working compared to earlier on in this race, Nathan. It's quite a change. Thank you to all the riders in the Discord who have joined either by voice or by video. It is really appreciated. We always enjoy seeing those pain caves and seeing those pain faces. So hats off to everyone in that Discord tonight.
Yeah, you can see the focus now on some of those faces. They know what's up, and they're doing everything they can to either, make sure they give themselves the best opportunity to walk away with the best time as they can, or those sprint points earlier on. But there's not a lot of happy faces in those pain caves at the moment.
No,
yeah, but Duval is really at the front. That's 7 watts per kilo.
7 watts. He's going to need a gap, though. He's going to need some time because once we go down the other side, the group is going to be able to work much more effectively, utilize that draft on the descent, utilize the riders around it to close that gap. So 17 seconds is a really good gap to have on the top of this climb here, but he's got to hope. We can see some of those orange numbers just lit up there. But again, this could be to Duval's advantage. If this group really push through the sprint, this could minimize how many riders. He needs this to break up behind now down the other side. If this stays as one big group, that gap will come down. But if there's some separation here, that could really pay to Duval's advantage.
Yeah, to really help him out. And there's no riders in front of him either. So, he's got no one to catch. There's no other draft that he can sort of pick up, even if it's momentarily as he's passing through. He's going to have to keep the power on the entire time, all the way down there. No recovery. It's going to be just full gas to make sure that 19-second gap sticks.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's over. It's a 20-second gap now. I think over the main group with Talbot just sitting off the front here, just separating himself from the rest of the group. But it's really interesting. Just looking at some of these average numbers, Duval has ridden a really cagey race so far, just averaging 3.8. And when we're in that B category pen, some of those riders have pushed 3.8. And looking at the riders around him, pushing 4.1, 4.0, 4.2, really cagey. So this is a calculated move from Duval to push the pace. Holding at 19 seconds, this is the crucial part of the course now. It's this descent. If he could get to the Plaza de la Concorde with 15 seconds, he's got a really good chance of staying away in this race, Nathan.
But there are 19 riders in this group behind him chasing him down, and you'll know that there's a few of them really want to push that front, try and rein him back in as much as possible, try and cut that 20-second gap he had down as much as they can. So certainly still some fast riders in this front group.
Yeah, and you can see the difference in power. You know, we had Duval on the screen there. He was still pushing 5 to 5.5 watts a kilo. These riders have got very similar speed, but they're pushing 2.8, 3.1, 3.6. Yep. They've just got to roll through to the front, give it a little punch, lift that speed, and let the other riders continue to roll through. And that roll-through effect is going to increase the speed. Not like it used to be a year ago, Nathan. It's very different, but it's still a big advantage over a solo rider. That gap is still, according to Zwift Power, at 20 seconds. It did come back to 17, but at this moment, it still looks like it's sat at 19 seconds. And we're getting to the bottom now. It is going to start to flatten off a little bit here. So if Duval can keep the pressure on, and he is still pushing 6 watts a kilo, this is it. All or nothing now, Nathan.
It's all going to come down to that last effort coming around the back part of the course. If he can hang on to this coming up and out through the tunnel, I think he's got this in the bag. But I can just see some orange numbers being pushed in the front there. I saw some flicking up to 11 watts per kilo, so they're not giving up. They're not going to let him try and get away too fast. But I think this is going to come down to who's got the best 5-minute power just for this last moment. And Duval's got some pretty good firepower.
Yeah, absolutely. So Duval, as we said, needs around about 6 seconds over some of these chasing riders if he's going to make an impact in the E gap. That's, of course, assuming Kieran Molly finishes with the group and doesn't do something very similar himself when he races. Still 19 seconds at the moment. One rider just off the front, but it's this group coming behind, just 2 seconds off. This Canadian rider here. 2.5 kilometers to go in this race.
That 20-second gap, that's so fragile. Anything can happen. But you can see that group isn't going to let him up. They're going to keep pushing. And this Canadian rider here I wonder what he's thinking. He's got to be thinking, he's looking at the times. I know I would be on the leaderboard there. And only having a 2-second or 3-second gap coming around the back part of this course, is that going to be enough to hold them off? I'm not too sure. But Duval has really kept that 20-second gap going.
Yeah,
Francis, there we go.
Yeah,
400 watts.
Still there.
400 watts. 400 watts.
Yeah, 400 watts kilo would be very big. But Francis Francis is doing a really good job to hold off the group here. But we're on with Duval. This is the point. I would like to say out of sight, out of mind. But when you can see those numbers constantly on the right-hand side of the screen, it doesn't quite work the same in Zwift racing. That gap has gone out, though, Nathan. 24 seconds to Francis, 28 seconds to the group. I've got to say, I think Duval has got this now. If he's just got to hold those numbers, keep pushing the pace. Although this is quite a long straight here. You know this. It's still got about, 1,400 meters to go when you get to the top here. It does zigzag round. And again, it could be to the advantage if they can't see you in the distance. But I think Duval has got this. And it's looking 25 seconds to Francis, 30 seconds on the main group at the moment. He could get himself into the top 3 of the GC as it stands right now. But Duval has got to continue to hold those numbers because I'm sure, Nathan, those orange numbers are going to come in that chasing group.
I'm just waiting to see some of those numbers actually start clicking up. And you'd have to think that some of those riders know they'd have to go earlier than planned. And I'd expect some of these riders to actually start pushing around this part of the course and build up that speed as they come through to the right hand. And once they see that banner in view, then it's just going to be on. But you'd have to think, as you say, Si, he's got a 27-second gap now.
500
barring a mechanical.
He's got this in the bag, right? Yeah, agree.
I don't think he's going to lose this. This is going to be incredible.
Yeah, it's just a matter of how much time. Yeah, it's still there. 5.5 watts a kilo. Marcus knew what he was doing in terms of numbers. He knows what he's got in his locker. And he's put it to good pay. This was a tactical great move from Marcus Duval. Riding for next. Today he's riding for FRR Legion, a composite team. They're doing a great job for himself and the teammates here. This could be the move that puts Duval into the top 3 for sure. maybe even second. That depends on how Pedersen races. Here comes the chase. It'll be interesting to see that gap now. Here we go.
The orange numbers, they've all lit up. Look at that.
Yeah, the fire socks are there.
Pushing 13 watts per kilo. Really trying to dig as deep as they can. Pushing through to that banner. Oh, it's going to be close right on the line there.
And it was Ziegler, I think, just held on for second, but he was just about to get rolled on the lines. Just got it there.
Yeah. Another 5 or 10 meters, and he may have lost that.
Yeah, it was certainly close. Plenty of Canadian flags on the screen there also. And again, we're coming to that same part of the race with this B-pen. It looks like all riders together from what I can see at this point. Indeed. So it is James just sat on the front here. Yeah, we just sat with Collins from TFC currently. But again, we're into this final 2.5 kilometers with this B-pen. And again, you'd have to think some of these riders are trying to figure out now, am I going to go? If I'm going to go, at what point am I going to go? Or am I going to sit in this group and hopefully save as much energy as I can to push at that very last moment? I don't know. There's a few riders I think that could probably do it. If they could force a breakaway now, put some high numbers in, I think there's a few riders there that just wouldn't be able to back it up and keep it going. It's a really tricky sprint finish, this one as well, because with that little drag up to the line as well, it just keeps going and keeps going. So thank you to, again, everyone in YouTube. Quick comment there. Great job. Thank you, Christopher Schwenker, my co-host on my podcast, which is the Virtual Velo podcast. We've just put a show out, actually. So thank you, Chris, for giving me the reminder to give that a plug. But we spoke to, of course, Ollie Jones and Lionel Vujasan, both of Coalition Alpha. So if you've not heard it yet, take a listen. We're not as frequent as in the drops with you guys every week, but we try and get one out every couple of weeks. Of course, we cover all platforms and all things cycling esports. But here we are. We're dropping down. We're going to kick up the other side. Is anyone going to take an early flyer? I don't know. These B riders tend to be pretty cagey to the last minute. Yeah. He is. Orange numbers already as he kicks out the other side, Kellinger.
Yep, he's really going to try and push this. Look at this. There we go. 8 watts per kilo coming out. I think he might even try and pick up a bit of the draft of this front group in front of them. But he's going to have to keep the power on to get through these guys. Yeah, and not get caught up here. But certainly there'll be a few C-grade riders.
Yep.
Yep.
I was just going to say, this is one of the areas where you've got to be careful, particularly in this final sprint. If you're off the back trying to utilize that draft and punch through the last minute, when you punch through a group like that, you've got to be really careful with this final sprint. But it's a big group here. This is going to be a fast, hard sprint. Who is going to show their cards first? Who is going to make that first move? Are they going to be able to hold it to line? It's all going to play out in the next minute, I would say. We're almost there. These guys, I mean, I said the A's would roll round in about an hour. These guys are an hour of racing and 39 seconds currently. So I was close, but it just shows that these B riders have certainly pushed the pace throughout, but it's also a big group, Nathan. We're almost there. Do you want to talk us and take us to the line?
Yep, so they're going to be pushing through right round to that right-hand corner. And for me, that's the go mark. When you hit that right corner, as you come around and you see the rest of the road in front of you, the banner there, the numbers are going to start to light up. So we're going to see a bunch of the riders. There's news from Giant CC. He's one of my ex-teammates, doing a fantastic job there and pushing the front. Tiago, no, he's not going to do it. There we go. Their numbers are starting to kick up now. Look at that, pushing through to the front there. News is right on the front. Look at that. Look at those, some of those numbers there. He's pushing out 13 watts per kilo, 14 watts per kilo. Can't quite hold it. And Fritz, I think, has got that one.
Yep, third or fourth, I think, there for News. But clearly an experienced rider because he was also donning that infamous Flamme Rouge racing jersey. Just to say, tomorrow evening at 6 p.m. GMT UK time, we will be closing the Flamme Rouge Racing store. That's where you're going to find your jerseys, your shorts. We've got a green jersey, red jersey. I think there's black and red and black. Hoodies, T-shirt, or your Flamme Rouge merchandise. So should you want those, then that is your last opportunity to order those for this particular tour. Again, we probably will open the store again on the next tour. But again, anything casual gear, we will ship that out straight away. But then we will basically, as of Monday, the cycling, clothing, indoor and outdoor jerseys will go into full production. We're in the C category and we're approaching, again, the final kilometre. Just 1 kilometre to go from this point, and then we've got this sort of snaking round that we do as we get up to the finish line. Flat at the moment, but it does kick up in this last little bit. But again, it's quite a big group here, but we're a lot of riders started. 77 riders started in this pen. There certainly isn't 77 riders here right now. We're probably looking closer to 30, maybe less.
Yeah, they've certainly dialed down, haven't they? There's a lot of tired legs out there, that's for sure. And that group is still sort of around that 26 numbers. So we're going to see them start to amp up that power as they come around the right-hander just up ahead here. And I'm looking to see who. So Dinos in the front there. We've got Bell as well. So Wingman. Looking to see who's going to fire first, who's got the orange numbers. And there we go. From the back, we've got a couple of riders already firing up, pushing through to the front there, pushing through to the banner. And look at that. Oh, God. There's that power.
This is where it hurts. This is a long sprint. Yeah, Jamie pushing the pace. Looks like Jamie's going to hold this to the line.
He's going to get this one.
It is. Absolutely. Jamie riding really well. Thank you for Ziegler in the chat as well. Compliments on the commentary. Will we compliment you on the racing, sir? Great job. This is the race. Here we are. This is the one I was looking forward to. Where is Eloise Cote? We can see Vanessa Beavers just looking down that list on the right-hand side of the screen. Yeah, Beavers on the front. Turner's also there. Well. I'm not seeing Cote in that group as it stands. We need to have a look. Where is Cote? But this is where the race is up. Man, these two riders separated by 0 minutes, 0 seconds before today's race. So this is really what we've got to focus on. Thank you for the production team trying to find these riders for us. Cote's there?
Yeah, definitely in that group. So we should see. I can see her in the group. I can't see her on the screen just yet, but I'm sure she's going to make herself known pretty quickly.
Yeah, both riders look like they've got some teammates around them because Cote riding for Optimum and Vanessa Beavers riding for Coalition. And it is one of the dynos just on the front there, pushing the pace. Currently, I've just seen Cote there, that Canadian flag right in the centre of the screen. Maybe 3 to 4 riders back at the moment. In fact, just drifting through to the front. This is going to be a tremendous finish. So Beavers also sat on the front here. So these riders still marking each other.
Yeah, and Vanessa's done a fantastic job. I mean, she's been averaging 3.2 watts per kilo. The group as a whole is probably sitting at around 3 watts per kilo. And when you think about that over 43 kilometers after 21 stages, there's a lot of riders there that are just digging deep just to stay in the front there. And we can see that breakaway starting to happen.
Yeah, Beavers is in here, Nathan. Look at this. Vanessa Beavers is in this breakaway.
Yeah.
With 4 riders, and they've got 19 seconds over that chasing group. And I can see Cote is in that chasing group 18 seconds back. So as this stands, Vanessa Beaver is going to take this category. Unless this group get a move on, Cote needs to rally those troops, get the riders around it, and chase this gap down. But with 2.5 kilometers to go, 18 seconds, as we saw from Duval in that A category, that's a long gap to close. This looks to me, Nathan, like Beavers has this.
I think she's got this locked up. But there's a lot of riders here that will not want to be on the front, that's for sure. Getting them convinced to try and push that to close this gap down is going to be a difficult ask at this time of the race. But we've got Turner there, Beaver, and Woods. Yeah, Woods Turner as well. Yeah. So I'm sure that they're going to be able to hold this. Unless that front group, that chasing group, can really put some power around this back part of the course, you'd have to think that Vanessa's got this one in the bag.
Yeah, that's it. And we saw in earlier laps, Vanessa that was going around the Arc de Triomphe there, pushing the pace, trying to cause that separation. And it looks like that's what she did on that last lap. She's applied that pressure. She's opened the gap. Maybe she didn't lap before because I think we missed that. But she is there with these 4 riders continuing to push. Looks like these riders continuing to work really well together here. That gap is still 18-90 seconds.
Here we go. Someone's actually trying to go early on this one. And as you said before, even with 1,400 kilometers to go. Yeah. And Debbie Woods, and I've ridden against Debbie Woods a few times there, and she's such a strong rider as well. I wonder what she's thinking. I think maybe she's wondering if this other rider's gone a bit too early and might actually not have the legs to carry it through to the finish. But Vanessa is not fast. She's just sitting there in the third wheel, just waiting and watching Debbie, I suspect, to see what she's going to do.
Yeah, absolutely happy there. Vanessa's job is done. That time gap has been opened up on Eloise Cote. So just happy to sit amongst these 3 riders at the moment. But yes, we are getting closer and closer to this finish line with just a few hundred meters to go now, 600 meters or so to go to this finish line. And again, I wonder if Beavers was getting some help from Debbie Woods Turner there as a fellow Canadian. Turner just rolls through to the front. Yeah.
Yep. I think they're happy to let this one play out as it is. Turner might try and take a position here and a podium, but I think Debbie and Vanessa know that Vanessa's got this one stitched up. So I think she's happy to let Vanessa take this one and maybe third or second perhaps. Let's see if there's any numbers that start to crank up now. We know that we're only about 300 meters from the finish, so keeping together, that's for sure.
Yeah, that gap is closing down, but it's too little, too late. These ladies just going to roll through the line. Happy to take a podium in the race, but it's Vanessa Beavers here for Coalition in the Scotch bonnets, taking the overall. Just perfect timing, just rolling herself over the line there. Great work.
Take the second.
Yeah, and
bit of silverware.
Take that podium. That's it. Fantastic. Great riding. Those riders did manage to close that gap quite well there. Great job. Great racing from those riders. Great racing from all riders across all categories. Thanks for joining us on this. We're going to try and pull up some of the results the best we can before we leave you this evening. As these riders just starting to cool down.
Yeah, they'll be thankful that this is done. I think a lot of them will be patting themselves on the back for having seen out this edition, multiple editions, or the entire tour. I know I was pretty chuffed to tick over 21 stages. So there's definitely a lot of riders there that are pretty happy with their results, I would expect.
Yeah, absolutely. So why don't we... Here we go. Here we've got some of the results. So we've got some of these results from the A category. So this is the stage overall that we're looking at here. So it was Marcus there, 59 minutes of racing. Jean-Christophe there in second. Ziegler, the man who left that comment in the chat as well, taking third. CL fourth. Matthias Bertram taking fifth. Johnny Winwood taking sixth. Cam St. Pierre taking seventh. Darren Bramall, the active rider from down under, taking eighth. Mark Talbot taking ninth. Mike Hardy, who we saw on screen, taking 10th with these A riders. We'll take a look at the B's shortly too. Yeah, absolutely. And great racing throughout. As we've said, there are multiple races, or I think we've got 3 races to go this evening. So if you want to catch up with the overall race results, you want to catch up with the sprint results, the climbers jersey, go and check out Flamme Rouge Racing website. Just pop that in there. And you can check out all the results from the Flamme Rouge, whether you've done one edition or you've done all 3 and you're a full tourist. Here are the results from the B category. Nathan, do you want to talk us through these?
Yeah, so we've got, I'm not going to be good at some of these names, but Fasu, Akinek, I think you've dropped me in there. Matranga, Editor Steve in third spot. Andrew News, congrats, mate. That's a great result in fourth there. Vincent Karen in fifth. James, I'm going to get that one a miss. Sorry, James. Gil Mignosi in seventh. Alejandro Ruiz in eighth. Tobias in ninth there. And Jeremy in 10th.
I did that on purpose. The amount of stick and abuse, Nathan, I take when I'm trying to pronounce these names, I thought it was your turn to take something there as well. But you did a better job than I have done a time or two. So that was great work. Let's see if we can pull up these C category results also. Let's say it does take a little while for these to filter through the system, but great job by the production team as well. So Jamie Bishop there taking first, Terry Bellinger taking second, Ian Jarvis, I've got all these names so far, taking third, Zupanik, who we saw also in Yorkshire tonight, taking fourth, Joe Priestley from Coalition taking fifth, Alex Bieber sixth, Yeffy, I think from Movie Team maybe taking seventh, do apologise there, and Daz Rhodes eighth, Anders Peterson taking ninth, and my friend from Fast Forward Racing there in 10th, RF, thank you. Also, RF, go and check out RF on YouTube. And Fast Forward Racing also over on Instagram. Some great content from those guys. Let's see if we can pull up the results from those D Racing. And indeed we have. And it is that lady, yes, Vanessa Beaver from Coalition, taking that one there. Debbie Woods-Turner, that rider you've ridden with before, Nathan, taking second. Peter Turner taking third. Marco Tandu there, taking fourth. I do apologise for my pronunciation of these names. Jonas Gustafsson taking fifth. Stephanie Lavenger taking sixth. Jerry Stewart seventh. Elisa taking eighth.
Yep.
Alicia, let's go with Alicia taking eighth. Dean Zitnik taking ninth. And Katu Zhu taking 10th there. So some great racing. Let's talk about what's coming next for Flamme Rouge Racing. Of course, Nathan, they've got the World Championships. Those are coming April 12th to the 13th. They're going to run 2 event times instead of just 1, I believe. So I think it's like a lunchtime and then a late afternoon UTC. That's coming April the 12th and April the 13th. And again, registration is going to open for those on April the 2nd. And then, of course, there's this charity event, Nathan, that the Flamme Rouge Racing are doing. And Richard asked me if I was going to be taking part in this charity event. I'm going to ask you the question. Are you going to be taking part? Are you going to contribute to this charity event? I'm going to put you on the spot, so I don't know how you can say no to that, Nathan.
Yeah. No, I've already committed to doing that. I said that to Rich on our show. That's going to be something I'm looking forward to. I'm not a big fan of Ventop, if I'm honest, but at the same time, it's for a great charity. It's going to be something really worthwhile doing, and I think everyone should probably get in on this. It'll be a great social event, so certainly one I'm going to look forward to.
Yeah, absolutely. Nathan, I can tell you, my response to Richard was exactly the same, that Ventop's not my favourite, but this is for charity. Cyclists Fighting Cancer charity there as well. So Come and join in. I absolutely going to put my name down for this. This is going to be May 18th and 19th, and we're going to try and complete as many ascents ever, the most ever as done possible in 24 hours, as many as possible at Ventop. That is going to start at 6 o'clock UTC on the 18th of May. So again, that event will open soon, I believe.
I'm going to put you on the spot there, Si. How many do you think you can do?
How many I think I can do, how many I want to do are quite different. I don't know. I am Nathan. I've been talking about doing a virtual Everest for about 4 years, and every year I say, right, the start of winter, once I've gone back indoors, that's what I'm going to do. But maybe this is not the opportunity, but I'd need some training before then. Maybe I'll have to see when the holidays are booked with Mrs. Bradley, but I'll get a few in. I'll put my down at least for 4 or 5 hours, and then we'll see how it plays out from there. But you've already got a number in mind, then, Nathan.
I think I want to try for 3 if I can. If I can get 3 out in the one session, then that'll be pretty impressive. But getting and doing one though is going to be just as good. And for all the other riders out there that are interested in trying this out, if you haven't done Ventop for the first time, come and have a go at it. It's a great climb. It's a long climb. I'm not going to lie, it's going to be difficult, but it's for a great cause. So definitely get your riding socks on and have a go.
Yeah, I think we've also got to say a massive thank you to Richard and Lee Wild, of course, for organising such great racing with Flamme Rouge Racing. One of the most fantastic, and engaging formats of racing I think we have on the Zwift platform. Massive thank you as well to Damon Bates from ZMS ESports Studio. Great production this evening, as are all ZMS productions. Don't forget to go and check out levelvelo.cc for that Flamme Rouge racing kit. If you're a full tourist or whether you've just done one edition, I think you deserve to treat yourself, of course, to a jersey or even just a t-shirt to celebrate the fact that you've just completed 21 stages of the Triquetra. This man next to me has been Nathan Craig. I've been Simon Brayley. Thank you for joining me on this Flamme Rouge ZMS Esports broadcast, and we'll see you soon for more esports racing.
Thanks very much.